Good morning, everybody. My name is John Gosling, Managing Director of Breakwater IT. Thank you for joining us for our online cybersecurity conference. It's good to see a few familiar names on the list there. Some of you who came to our last conference. For those of you who don't know, we ran our first annual cybersecurity conference last December. But given the current circumstances, we thought we wouldn't do a face-to-face one, but we thought we'd do a remote one. And we feel that with the current pandemic situation, lots of people are more at risk of scams and attacks. But we also feel that maybe security awareness has fallen down the agenda for some people. And that's why we wanted to bring this event to you now. And that's why we're doing it. We want to share knowledge, share awareness to help you protect and prepare yourselves for what's coming. I'd like to apologise. It was pointed out to me by Simon Cowley. Thanks, Simon, that we can't make you a cup of coffee or bacon roll like last time. But Jordan kindly offered to make you one if you want to pop in at some point. Thanks, Jordan.
I didn't.
Okay. This morning we're joined by, we've got two great speakers. We've got Callum Noad of Mimecast, who you can see with the cap on. Callum, can you show everyone your hair as well?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, this is why I'm wearing the cap, because halfway through I'll go blind if it comes off.
Look at that. Look at that hair.
Fantastic. And then that's going to be followed by, hold on, I have an agenda. There we go. Followed by second half of our speaker, Ethical Hacker FC, also known as Freaky Clown. So yeah, Callum's going to go first. We've also got Jack and Jordan on the call. They're my colleagues here at Breakwater. They're going to help with the Q&A and keep me in check. And we've also got Eric from Mimecast, who's may need to jump in as well. So I think Callum has to nip off after his talk. So any questions he can answer later on. So anyway, without further ado, we'll hand over to Callum. Callum, feel free to share your screen when you're ready.
Lovely,
And,
thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. Okay, cool. I'm just sharing now, so if you guys can see this, let me know if there is any problems or if you can't see this. Cool. So yeah, I'm a sales engineer at Mimecast, so I lead the technical discussion and product demonstration of the Mimecast product stack. Today we're going to be having a look at our internal email protector and awareness training, so helping you identify and mitigate the risk of threats generating internally. So during the session, you are all muted. I know there was a question in the chat box about that, but I do encourage you guys to use the Q&A functions to ask questions throughout. And just as was said, we're going to have a look at those questions at the end and get those answered. This video will also be recorded, so if you would like a copy of that, please do let us know and it will be made available to you. So Mimecast security strategy is focused on how we can protect our customers in 3 core zones. Firstly, at the perimeter, then inside the perimeter, and thirdly, beyond the perimeter. Most businesses now have protection from threats on the gateway, as I'm sure a lot of you do have, utilizing targeted threat protection or something similar, which is designed to stop advanced threats bypassing gateway security and entering your organization from external sources. However, over the last few years, we have seen a dramatic increase in threats born internally, which traditionally organizations haven't put as much monitoring or protection in for their internal mail as they do inbound. So the key reasons we see this rise in internal threats are as follows. So we did a big survey and found that 80% of businesses have experienced some kind of compromised account, an insider account, which has been used to spread an attack. It actually happened at Twitter last night. So big one. It was. It's in the news this morning. People socially engineered someone at Twitter and got access to an account which could then further access accounts with blue tick. So they got onto Elon Musk, Bill Gates, they got hold of even Barack Obama and really powerful guys, and then gave out a Bitcoin address and told everyone they would double their money if they sent Bitcoin to them. So big example of a compromised account even last night. It on average takes 225 days to spot a compromised account. So going back to last night, they could have been sitting there for some time before eventually deciding that today's the day we're going to launch. So from that position as well, we see a lot of credential harvesting attacks. So as more and more organizations move towards Office 365, they become more used to using things like OneDrive links and SharePoint links. They'll get sent around by email. A user will click it from their email, go to the login page, give away their 365 credentials, and hey presto, that's now compromised. We see lots and lots of those pages. Actually, I think the number is 222 brand new Office 365 phishing pages every day. We see that at Mimecast. So yeah, quite a big threat, and it's those are all day zeros as well. They're brand new every single time, so forever moving. The second number, the careless insider. So lots of organizations saw careless insider, so it was actually the highest number. It's actually the number one cause of a data breach is the end user, a careless insider. And actually 31% of those mentioned that someone at their C level had shared information with the wrong contact within the last 6 months. So even the top and most powerful guys, they're not impervious to being a careless insider. And lastly, malicious insider. So whilst it's actually assumed rare, it would be assumed that people aren't going to act maliciously on purpose. 70% of the businesses we surveyed have actually experienced an intentional attack from a user for anything you see on the screen there, or even kind of using the email platform for abusive and inappropriate behavior. Businesses often fail to notice incidents of aggressive management or workplace abuse. Most companies do, however, have a policy to stop profanity from leaving the organization. However, it's very important to be able to monitor these policies internally to apply them to your internal email, your user to user. So firstly, let's have a look at how Mimecast can protect your organization against internal threats from a technology perspective. So starting with the top right quadrant and the threat detection. So Mimecast internal email protect technology lets you detect email-borne security threats that originate from within your email system using the same functionalities you have already deployed for inbound security with something like targeted threat protection. So looking at those Office 365 phishing pages or malicious attachments with some obfuscated code that's going to go and do something nasty. So something like that stops attacks from spreading rapidly and silently between employees and then kind of further on to customers and partners from there as well. At Mimecast, we also allow you to check the contents of emails sent internally and outbound to ensure that confidential information isn't leaked to the wrong person. This is to help you with your data leak prevention program. And in the case where the threat or data leak is already present, automated and manual remediations of infected or sensitive emails and attachments from employee mailbox is available, as opposed to the ever ineffective Outlook recall button. I don't know if many of you have had a good experience with that. Be interested to see if you have. And then finally, being able to know what your users are sending allows you to gain visibility of all internal and outbound email traffic. Something you might not have any control of at the moment, but is definitely beneficial to you. So to combat internal email threats, you need to be able to inspect internally generated emails for links, attachments, or for sensitive content, and prevent the spread of those attacks or leaks. Internal Email Protect is a simple solution to deploy that requires a journal connection between email servers and Mimecast. It's an option that is enabled within your Mimecast subscription, and that allows you to extend your current targeted threat protection and content examination rules to include your internal and outbound traffic. Threats can then be monitored and tracked with the help of reports. So Internal Email Protect enables you to check internal and outbound emails for suspicious activities. It can be an attachment containing malicious scripts, which our sandbox and static file analysis will catch. It can also be a link pointing to a fraudulent website. So we do have more than, we do see more than just the Office 365 credential harvesting pages, obviously. And we do kind of use the full URL Protect stack on internal emails now as well. We've also got the anti-phish kit for looking at other frequently used login pages as well. Internal Email Protect help you detect and remove or block and remove, sorry, those threats from the user mailbox before they can start spreading and affecting more users. Our threat intelligence team reported that they have seen an increase in the use of Excel documents containing malicious payloads since April. So definitely pertinent at the moment. And if indeed there is a malicious script present on a user computer, it might be trying to leak out information. All organizations own some form of confidential information. That can be anything about employees, customers, projects, even your IT infrastructure. Lots of types of data there are very sensitive, and if that was to fall in the wrong hands, could be very dangerous. So being able to apply policies to prevent the leak of that information is necessary, especially as we know there are regulations in place that we need to adhere to. Shout out GDPR. There's also the fact that a data breach could have terrible consequences for revenue and reputation of your organization. We mostly link data breaches with outbound traffic. However, they can also happen internally. So we mentioned earlier about the different kind of threats you might be facing. Employees might share sensitive data with other unauthorized employees. Offensive or inappropriate content might be sent between those employees, and therefore it's a massive benefit to be able to apply consistent policies across internal and outbound emails to have the possibility to identify, remove, and then kind of deal with it from there, knowing it's gone from your environment. My real world example, something that did happen to me whilst I was on back as a more practicing IT rather than talking about it, was I was working at a consultancy company over in London, and the consultants had their day rates sent out to a distribution list which contained all of them rather than where it was meant to go. So every consultant I then worked with knew how much they were worth, how much they were making the company, and how much they weren't making personally as a result of that, and what their mates were worth, and so on. And it was just a couple of days of a bit of a panic, and so the data firstly got out, and then we couldn't remove it. So it was a massive shock to our system. So again, this is where these sorts of policies and these tools really could have benefited me previously. So far, we have seen how Mimecast can help monitor, identify, and detect threats that originate from within the organization. And now we'll be looking at how we can help you remediate them, the ones that have already landed. So back to my example there, removing the day rates from people's mailboxes that shouldn't have seen them. And actually the files themselves, something we have developed recently is the ability to remove any downloaded attachments to and save locally. So it can be that your endpoint protection has also alerted you that malware was found on a computer, and you might want to check whether that threat has then spread from one employee mailbox to another as well. And yeah, like the example I gave, it could be finance or HR or anyone in a sensitive position has sent a sensitive document in a rush and has sent it to the wrong employee. So yeah, sadly, after noticing the mistake, people do try and use that Outlook recall button, but normally it's already too late. And as like I mentioned earlier, it's that used to be fairly ineffective, and I'd be interested to see if many people have had success with that. It could even be that you've been made aware that your entire list of customers has been exported from your database and is now present in user mailboxes. And you may have a policy to state that that sort of data should only reside in the database or on a file server, but never shared by email. So you want to be able to quickly take action, remove those emails from email servers. So be it on-prem or Office 365. So Mimecast gathers intelligence from 38,000 customers around the globe. Whenever we notice something amiss and that maybe wasn't detected straight away or was sensitive content, we will be able to notify you and automatically remove the threats from your user mailboxes. Or if you prefer, we can alert you so you can manually proceed with the remediation yourself. So should you need to, you can search for those emails. You can search by attachments as well. and it will return to you everyone's mailbox where that data sits, and you can remove with one click nice and simply from there. All actions taken are recorded as well, and in the case that there was an accidental removal, you can always revert. So there is also a revert button. So just as easy as it is to take the emails out, we can put them back in if there ever was a mistake. As I think it's sometimes more, my apologies, that's something else that's crept its way into our notes. Cool. So as we've seen with Internal Email Protect, that enables you to monitor, detect, and remediate threats that have landed internally, or that originate from your email system, whether the emails are destined to internal users or to external recipients. The benefits are that you can reduce the impact that advanced attacks have on your organization. You can gain visibility of them, and you know what the threats are, so you can identify the source of the attacks and shut them down fast. Ultimately, you protect your business reputation by preventing attacks spreading to third parties and by safeguarding your sensitive data. You also protect your users without sacrificing their productivity. All functionalities are managed through a single web console for simple administration, and you can there automatically or manually remediate these emails. So far we've looked at protecting your organization against internal threats from a technology perspective, but sadly that technology isn't everywhere. It can't cater for everything, and it is necessary to ensure that your employees are aware of the different kind of threats out there, and that they know what to do when facing them. So let's have a look now at how you can also train your users to become veritable human firewalls for when technology can't help. So very pertinent to last night's incident with Twitter. So to start with, some more numbers to look at. So according to research, more than 90% of security incidents are due to human error. 86% of threats and data leaks start with an employee, and all of that results in data breaches which cost around $4 million to fix. So it is a very well-known fact that most attacks start with an email, and that's why we talked about Internal Email Protect earlier. But data breaches come from negligent employees disclosing data to the wrong person. And this can be because employees lost their paperwork, didn't shred the information. It could also be because they got overheard talking about confidential information in public places. When you think that a data breach can take or even months to be identified and then be contained, and the cost of a data breach can be carried out over years, it becomes evident that having the right technologies in place is beneficial to prevent those breaches. But it sadly doesn't always matter that the technology is in place because there is a human factor. Humans can make mistakes, massive one last night, and that was a pure social engineering attack as well. Employees think they do their job to the best of their abilities, but they might make mistakes. So you should consider investing in your employees' education and combining the technology with the education program to prevent the most amount of breaches. So awareness training might not be anything new to your organization. The reality is that although you might have invested in technology and user education solutions, your employees might not be very enthusiastic about the awareness training program itself. And research has showed that although a lot of money is invested in security awareness training, the majority of employees, unfortunately, just don't care about it. And sadly, when employees don't like something, they ignore it. There are many reasons why awareness training can fail. Historically, awareness training was part of a compliance exercise or a tick box exercise where it was required for a company to prove that such training was made available to a user base. It is still very often in the form of some company policy that employees have to read, acknowledge, and sign. And most companies have actually added some form of awareness training as part of their corporate onboarding program. It's a really good idea to do it then as well, because it gets in front of the users before they get too busy. But during those first couple of weeks, there is so much that a new starter has to learn, that some of that information can be easily forgotten. And if that's the only time they actually have access to that information, that's another problem in itself. It's remember it once, and then it's gone. But if they forget it, game over. Yearly workshops can also be scheduled to check employees understand the risk that the company might face. So some tests can be put in place in the form of phishing campaigns, but most of the time training is reactive because a security event took place and we feel users should be trained on how to react next time it occurs. And employees are now expecting to have to answer questions at the end of the training and to choose the correct answers before being able to move on. And in some cases, the training platform will make them take the test several times until they do get the correct answers. In those instances, users will potentially cheat, click on any answer until they get the correct one, and then that doesn't prove they've retained any of the information. And then that's just a vicious cycle. When users aren't engaged, they lack the knowledge they need to face the threats. And if you put them in a situation where there is a present threat, they will make mistakes. And then because of that mistakes, you want them to attend more training sessions, which again, they dismiss because it's not engaging, and it keeps on going round and round. So let's see how Mimecast awareness training can help organizations ensure that employees are engaged and know what to do when facing threats. So the first thing to mention is that our training platform isn't one that will tell your users off when they get something wrong. Our aim is to educate, to challenge employees, to coach them, and to make them think before they do anything. It's about empowering users rather than doing the whole list of do's and don'ts and tick the box. And we also want them to have a good training experience, something they feel that they have enjoyed or they're keen to join in next time, so to break that vicious cycle. So we'll be discussing different aspects of the platform in a little while, but to give you a quick summary, the content is short, it's engaging, it's fun, but it also focuses on very important topics. The aim is to spread the training over the course of a year and not to deliver too much information in one go, so that employees can digest what they've just learned and start making use of it in their daily life. We also want to ensure that the management teams have got all the tools they need to measure how effective the platform is and to see how the risk to the company decreases month on month. We do provide phishing simulations, as phishing attacks are a very, very easy way to target your employees, and we want them to be able to detect those phishing attacks when the technology fails, or even when employees access their personal emails. We really want to make sure that people know what to do at work, but also at home. And ideally, if they can share what they've learned with other people, that's even better. And as much as we want the employees to have a good experience, we want to extend this to the IT team who will look after the platform. And this is why Mimecast awareness training is integrated into what we call our Mime OS platform, that you already use for your email security and potentially web security. So you can use that one login to access all of the Mimecast solutions. So now let's have a look at the type of content you'll be getting with our awareness training platform. We consume all of the information via video. If you want to learn something new, like how to do a bow tie, curl your hair, like me, for example, could do that, or how to change your headlight, you will check if there's a tutorial on YouTube. And I'm also certain that you have at some point been watching, American sitcoms like Friends or How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory, these kind of shows. And we want to use the same format. We deliver very engaging video-based training modules that we recommend running on a monthly basis. Employees can access them whenever they've got 5 minutes, and they can access them from any device. The videos are only 2 to 3 minutes long, And they're also available in English with the possibility to have subtitles in English and 24 other languages. They use characters that you keep on seeing over and over again, so you know exactly who they are, which role they hold within the company, and what's happened to them previously. So we want to make sure that your employees can relate to those characters. And that's why you'll find a range of characters from all different backgrounds. So you'll have receptionists, salespeople, managers, IT admins, and finance. And you also have human error and sound judgment, who appear in every video and correspond to the little angel and devil on your shoulders, always fighting to get the last word. And we put all of those characters in different situations. They might be at work, but they might also be at a gym, in a cafe, in a taxi, or just out on the street. Security should really be on someone's mind at all times. And there is a wide range of videos you can choose from topics such as data in motion, so uploading kind of company data to public cloud platforms or using USB sticks, office hygiene, so not massively important at the moment, being that most people aren't in the office, but when you do return to the office, important to start looking at that again in case anything has slipped the user's mind. And that's things like tailgating, so letting people walk through a door without looking at their pass or shredding information, and sensitive data protection, passwords, phishing. And we've also got a special animated series for developers. We released that one earlier this year. And you can also actually create your own content if you wish. So if you've got platforms that you guys use internally and they're very specific to you, you can go ahead and make some of these videos yourself and have a bit of fun with that. Each video focuses on one topic to educate users on what a threat is, and what the proper behavior is, and the impacts that human error can have in those situations. It's followed by a multiple choice question where none of the answers are necessarily wrong. It's just that one of the answers is the best. Again, we want to coach the employees in doing better. We don't want to tell them off for getting the wrong answer. So if that does happen, we explain to them what a better attitude towards the particular risk would have been. The platform is all about having a positive attitude towards training, keeping your employees interested, making sure they are more likely to learn and retain information at the end of each module. And all of your employees' interactions with the platform are tracked to give you a good idea of how well the individuals are prepared against potential threats. So why do we use humor in this training? A lot of people ask. And according to Zach Stambor of the American Psychological Association, when used effectively, incorporating humor in a learning setting can reduce anxiety, boost participation, and increase an individual's motivation to focus on the material at hand. And if you look at the statistics from a survey we ran last year, you can see how effective our method of training is. The before is when a user has never seen a training video, and the after is directly from our results. So we see inadvertent disclosure as one of the weakest areas for organizations. And with our platform, we also see it as one of the areas with the most to gain. So here you can see our favorite character himself. It's Human Error. We're not supposed to be so fond of him, but he is the funniest character on the platform. He's always wearing a long bathrobe with long hair, and he's always advising you what the worst thing you could do possible. You could think that being Mimecasters we're biased, but it's not only us who think human error is the best. Many of our customers think so too, and find our platform to be working for their organization. We're also named a strong performer in the 2020 Forrester Wave for security awareness and training solutions, and we have received many other awards off the back of it as well. And we really want to keep your employees talking about the latest awareness training video they watched. When we say we provide you with a fun way to train your employees, we don't just want employees to laugh every time. We want to make them talk about the training. We want them to talk about it over coffee, discuss it with their colleagues, and by talking about the subjects, they'll retain more information. It doesn't matter what their thoughts are either. If they might think it's rubbish, that it's silly, or that it's funny. As long as they retain the message, you have done your job. And this is the type of content we believe will make a difference. Now, it's not just about the training, it's also about the statistics you get from the platform. If you wait for people to make mistakes to understand your risk, that's no good. You need to be proactive and understand the potential for risk before that happens. For that reason, Mimecast awareness training includes a user-centric risk scoring. We measure user interactions with the platform to build up a profile for that user, and then we compare it to millions of data points that we've taken over time. We want you to know how users sit compared to other people from other companies. We want you to be able to find the ones that are struggling so you can help them, and that's the user risk score. We also want to help you find out how your company was doing at first and how it is doing now. So we keep the historical information and we show you how your risk score has improved over time. So you can also compare that to the rest of your industry too. So this is your company risk score. It helps you prove that the awareness training platform is beneficial to the platform. The way that we evaluate the risk is by regularly evaluating employees and tracking indicators across the 3 root causes of human error. And for this, we measure their engagement. So people are asked to view the videos. So we want to know if they watched them as soon as, or if they waited or potentially needed to be reminded, or maybe they didn't watch the video at all. So we do want to keep track of this. We also want to measure their attitude and sentiment towards risk. So to do this, users are presented with questions before their first ever training video so we can establish a baseline. We then ask them to respond to the exact same questions every 6 months to see, has their behavior changed? And because we do ask them a question at the end of each module, we want to check their knowledge of the concepts. Did they choose the best answer? It's really important to track people's attitude to risk. After all, someone could be fully engaged with the training and getting the questions right, but would they have the right attitude when presented with a real life scenario? We're not so sure, so it's better to check this now than before the occasion presents itself. And another way to measure your employees' attitude to risk is to send them some phish tests every now and then. So now let's have a look at the phishing simulation available in the platform. So the Mimecast awareness training platform makes it very simple to implement and manage phishing simulations. The phish tests are fully integrated with the training modules, so that if we deliver a phishing test right after a module, we can check whether the users clicked on the links or ignored the messages. You can choose a phishing template from a large selection and customize it if you wish. You can change the language, the subject, the from address, and even the text of the message itself. You can decide when and how you would like to send it to the users, and even make it more complicated for your users to detect that it's a phishing test. You can set the phishing campaign to send different templates randomly to different users. And because we track if users watch the videos pertaining to phishing attacks, and because we know whether they clicked on the links when we sent them a test, we can build a nice overview on how the user is doing. And that's very beneficial when it comes to having a conversation with them. You can bring it to them to understand why they didn't watch the videos, and they can see that that's the reason they got tricked into clicking the links. So it's good to have all of that proof and that evidence before you have the conversation with the end user, and this platform provides you with that. And to finish off my portion of the webinar today, let's look again at what successful awareness training looks like. So you want your employees to talk about the training platform. You want to challenge them as to what they do in these situations presented by the videos. You want to keep them, you want them to keep on learning by being engaged with the contents. You want them to feel confident that they have the knowledge and the correct instincts when it comes to dealing with security threats. And you want to know who is struggling the most, what might be the issue, so you can have a conversation with them and understand what you could do to help them be better when confronting those threats. So in this slide, you can see some of our customers interacting with human error. So in the top left is a CISO at one of our oldest customers, and in the top right is one of our new customers using human error as his Zoom background. Our customers use the character of human error to remind them, or remind their employees of the risk associated with their potential errors. We really want our customers to drive a positive attitude towards awareness training. It's all about rewarding employees who do well, maybe offering donuts to the teams who perform well, or a voucher, or letting them leave early on a Friday or something. Just make sure that you gratify the users who have done well, and then you inspire the high risk users to do better themselves. And to finish off with some very recent stats, we have analyzed our customer data around URLs being clicked, more so as there have been a huge increase in unsafe links since COVID-19, and we are happy to report that our awareness training is working. Without the awareness training, employees are 5.2 times more likely to click on a bad URL. So hopefully now you can see that by combining the technologies such as our internal email protect and our awareness training platform, you can get closer to ensuring your internal network is protected against these threats. So thank you very much for joining my portion of this webinar today. I hope you found it useful. I'll be hanging around for a little bit to answer any questions or to respond to anything in the chat box. Just whilst some questions arrive, I'm going to quickly mention something that is coming to our awareness training platform very, very soon. It was actually demoed to me a couple of days ago, so I know it's about to go live soon. And that's our Phishing 2.0. So sending out different kinds of simulations. So what that's going to look like is a new portion on the platform itself, where we will show you real world threats that we captured on your email gateway. So one of the benefits of the awareness training platform being a part of Mimecast is that we also sit at your email gateway. We can see the real stuff that comes in, and we give you the opportunity to use that as a template to then phish your users with. So it's a process called debarbing or defanging. So removing the malicious element of that and delivering onto a user to see who would have gone for the real world, who would have clicked on the real deal. So something that's coming soon. It's been demoed to me a couple of days ago, so very, very new, hot off the press. And yeah, and some questions are coming in now, so I'll quickly get to those. So is the training at an additional cost to the usual license fee, and how much? In terms of cost specifically, I'm not too much of the commercials. I know there's a conversation that can be had between Breakwater and Mimecast that they can get some pricing over, but it is additional cost. It's the same as everything else with Mimecast. It's per user. But yeah, if you have the conversation with Breakwater and Mimecast, and we can get that sorted for you. And question, what strategies would you use to further train high-risk users found from within the user awareness training? So you get the opportunity to send them further videos. So you get 14 videos with the license. You can send them more content if you feel that is going to be pertinent. If you feel like that's going to benefit them, you can send them further stuff. But outside of that, it's tricky because you're in that situation that they're already not getting it right. They might be disengaged. You don't want to kind of get them into the classroom scenario and bore them too much with it. So yeah, it's probably best to be really creative with this. Yeah, it's a good one. What strategy to train? So yeah, I guess our platform itself gives you that data to highlight who the risky users are. Then it kind of comes down to what an organization wants to do. I guess you can put them in that classroom scenario, run them through some scenarios, maybe even some role plays. Yeah, I reckon the best thing to do is definitely get creative rather than just do a do's and don'ts list for them. Yes, yeah, definitely the creative approach there. So we've got another one in the chat box here. How often does device enrollment activate? As we have some devices that need to be enrolled on a regular basis, and what triggers a re-enrollment activation? I'm assuming that is in regards to they open an email with a link.
I think so.
And then yeah, it's something, yeah, that with the targeted threat protection stuff, that can be changed when it comes to user, so that you can turn that off for subsets of users. You can specify that for different groups. There is a default, but again, that probably set a long time ago and has changed now. What I might do there, Darren, is I'm actually going to take your name down and reach out to you after this, because I'm imagining that's actually more of a problem you're experiencing individually. So we can actually help you with that. If I can actually just find a pen anywhere, I will make a note of that. There we go.
Also, I think it's done on a cookie. So if there's a cookie on your machine or your phone, if that gets removed, so if your phone's say set to remove the cookies regularly, then you'll be asked to re-enroll. So that could be what's causing it.
Management hate it.
I can imagine they do get yeah, who loves a splash page?
Jack, can you contact Darren and see if we can have a look? And Callum, could you maybe help Jack with that as well, please?
Absolutely. I've taken a little note, so I'll get onto that after this. No problem.
Thank you. I kind of had a question myself on, you mentioned about, and your graph, you had the COVID links. Massive spike. What kind of links and what kind of, how are people trying to get people to click? What, is it?
Yep.
What we're talking about, face masks. What are people asking for?
Yeah, so face masks is one. I've seen charities as well, so donating to local charities for COVID relief. We've actually, as part of the phishing tests on the platform itself, we actually have a COVID template ready to go. So we've taken the data from that already, and kind of you can now utilize that. And that one, I believe, is a charity organization. Attackers will use anything to get money. They'll pry on people's empathy, and that's one of the big ones we've seen.
Do you have any statistics on the threat, on the links that people, on the ways they're trying to get people to click? So like COVID or charities, or your account has been hacked. Do you have any statistics on that at all?
Yeah, we do actually. So Mimecast released a report a while ago. It probably needs an update now because we're even further into lockdown. But we released the first 100 days of lockdown report, and that actually highlights the exact threats we've seen in their numbers, and that would have that type of information. So what I'll do, I'll make a little note to provide you with the link to that report, and then that can be kind of spread to your customer base from there as well. So let me just quickly take that down.
Thanks, Callum.
No worries.
Callum, I just wanted to ask, because you mentioned about being proactive with this sort of stuff. Do you find that more people are reactive in terms of something's happened and then they come to you? Is that the sort of, that's the majority?
Yes, it's like awareness training is one of the products I run a lot of kind of customer demos for. And when we kind of talk to customers about where has this requirement come from, it's 9 times out of 10, oh yeah, well, we had this guy, he answered the phone and said a few silly things or something like that. That is really, really common. I mean, it doesn't happen very often that I get on a demo and say, what's the driver here? And they say, we just really fancy it.
Okay.
There is normally something that has triggered it. I mean, that might happen once or twice. People will get told to look into it as a matter of kind of, being proactive, but that normally comes top down. By the time I'm on a call with someone, it's someone did this, someone did that, some data was leaked.
I think that's a common thing about reactiveness in terms of breaches, and even implementing things like MFA. It's normally after a breach, some people will then say, oh well, we should now turn on MFA. Yeah,
and I would be really interested to see how the from last night's Twitter attack, how they got access, because that was just a password to someone's account. So I would be interested to see if there wasn't any MFA there, because that would be, I mean, massive tech company like Twitter, that just would be unreal to see. But yeah, I'm interested to see that. So I've already checked this morning, and they haven't released that data yet. But yeah, very interested to see.
Yeah.
I think we actually spoke to a company where an end user was receiving MFA requests on a mobile device, and he was hitting approve, just thinking it was a random pop-up. So yeah, even with MFA, people still need to be told to not be silly with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people still training. That's
yeah,
how to use MFA and things like that, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
There is another question from Colin Grade. How much do Mimecast have access to company data?
I guess that comes down to what you mean by company data. Is that threat statistics, or is that kind of user emails and stuff like that? What would that mean? Yeah. So if that is kind of what's the contents within those emails, if you kind of think about if it sits in a data center and the concern is, say, could I get my hands on it? The answer is absolutely no. We do have service delivery teams that have privileged access, but again, that all has to be agreed beforehand. It's not the case of you sign up with Mimecast and then me and Eric can just log in and crack on and have a look. In terms of overall kind of threat stats and metadata and so on, that's easier to see. You still need permissions to see that data, but I couldn't see, say, your specific threat dashboard, for instance. I would still have to be granted permissions. It comes down to what was agreed enrollment.
It's also all audited, isn't it? So even if Breakwater ourselves were to go and look at an email, that is all audited, and we'd never do it without authorization from the end client either. So
yeah, everything's tracked. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Callum, thank you very much. You've got to rush off soon, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm into another demo regarding DMARC at 11. So yeah, but one of the other things I think my time is split 50-50 awareness training and DMARC at the moment. Those are the two flavors of the month.
They sound fun.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me as well. Yeah, thanks for your questions. Yeah, some really good ones in there. I'll get that 100 days of COVID report over to you guys as well, so you can see the data we've got.
Okay, we'll send that out to people with our survey after the meeting.
Perfect.
Lovely.
All right.
Great,
Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers.
Take care all.
Guys.
Thank you.